What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise postgame show presented by BetOnline. The Blazers today win a game. They win a game of basketball today. They go into Utah and beat the Utah Jazz 127 to 115. Shaedon Sharpe, a career high 24 points, 9 rebounds, 4 steals. Career high in all those categories. Phenomenal game from the rookie. Career high in minutes as well. We'll talk about how Chauncey Billups finally played our 7th overall pick. We'll also talk about what this win means for the Blazers going forward. But first, thank you to BetOnline for sponsoring today's post-game show. You can use that promo code BELIEVE for a 50% reward bonus. March Madness Sweet 16 coming up tomorrow and Friday. You can get in with parlays, live betting, all sorts of different types of action over there at BetOnline. And of course, Elite 8 for the NCAA tournament. March Madness is Saturday and Sunday. Baseball starts soon, about a week away from opening day. So you can have some fun over at BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, Eric, I asked chat this poll, and I'll talk about the results in a second, but how are you feeling about today's Blazers win? Are you happy? Are you indifferent? Are you sad? Or are you mad?
I mean, I'm obviously sad. I'm not like mad, but because it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, obviously hoping for as high up in the standings as possible. This win will maybe keep us out of 5th when all is said and done. So yeah, if you're rooting for 5th, that definitely a bad loss. But another reason why I'm sad. I'm going back to the Sacramento game, first game after the All-Star break. Anthony hurt his ankle the game before, or the last game before the All-Star break, right? Damian Lillard, Jeremy Grant pulled from the starting lineup because of the plane ride or whatever. It's announced that Shaedon Sharpe's going to start. And then like an hour later, all of a sudden he's not starting, and he ended up playing, I forget what it was, like 13 minutes that game or some crap like that. I'd like to know like how Sharp would be now if he had just started basically since then. Ant's only played a handful of games since the All-Star break, so why didn't we just play Shaedon and let him get those 30 minutes a game and see if he could be doing this all during All-Star break, and maybe we'd be in the play-in right now if that had happened and we've been developing him right now. But instead we fall 4 games behind the frickin' Jazz, and now we go in there and beat them in their place and move to 3 games back of them with the tiebreaker, and now they're going to feel like they still have a chance to make the playoffs, and it's going to be kind of frustrating.
So sad. As far as chat goes, only 38% of people are sad or mad, so only 38% of people are upset. 33% are indifferent, and 28% are happy. So, yeah, you got like 63% of our chat has no problem with this win. I, on the other hand, am extremely frustrated right now. Dude, I just want out of the situation where we don't have enough talent, we don't have a good enough coach, don't have a good enough GM, don't have a good enough owner, don't have a good enough anything except star. And we might have a good enough rookie too. You know, Sharp was phenomenal tonight. I don't want to take away from that whatsoever. But this win hurts. It hurts. There's positives from it, and, you know, it's like I wish all these positives came in a 1-point loss. You know what I mean? It would have been a perfect game if all these positives came in a 1-point loss. But I can't help but shake the feeling that a win like this could be the difference of having like a 10%, a 10.5% chance at a generational prospect compared to a 7.5% or 6% chance. Like, every win hurts this team at this point, and I get it. Losing sucks, but sometimes it's for the greater good. We've had this conversation numerous times, man. It's extremely frustrating just because this doesn't really accomplish anything for us whatsoever. Like, it's good vibes for a game, but guess what? Orlando, I don't think many people were upset about beating Orlando after we did. I know some people were, but it seemed like a lot of other people were happy because Nasir Little hit a clutch 3 or whatever, and, you know, that was awesome. But now aren't we wishing we lost that game? And it was the same way when we were trying to tank last year, when we were talking about that 4-game winning streak before the deadline, where it was fun when it was happening, and I would come on post-game shows and I wouldn't be too thrilled while everybody was excited during that 4-game winning streak and how we finally looked good under Chauncey Billups. But then at the end of the season, we were regretting that 4-game winning streak. This win doesn't help anything. This win only hurts anything. Now, you could make the argument that, in the end, maybe it won't make a difference. Okay, yeah, maybe. In the end, maybe it's a difference of only 1.5%. But I want every freaking shred of a percentage to get Victor Wembanyama as possible. But also, the difference between 5 and 6 for being the top 4 is a 5% difference. The difference between 6 and 7, 5% difference. That's actually quite a big difference. Also, being worse means that if you don't move up, you're still going to have a higher pick. So in general, even if you don't want a rookie, if you want to trade this pick and make a splash for a big name, having a higher pick is obviously better. I don't need to go more into that. I'm frustrated. I'm kind of mad because I have a worry that the rest of the season is going to go, we come out against Chicago, Dame plays, we beat them, right? And then our next game after that is against OKC at home. We could come out and win that game. And then all of a sudden, we're like a game and a half behind the play-in, and we're playing Dame the rest of the year. Grant comes back, and it's like, let's go get a play-in. And then even if we make a play-in, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to go anywhere. So I am worried. That this team is going to go on a little bit of a run here, and then they're going to trick themselves into thinking, let's go get a play-in because we think we can make noise in the playoffs or whatever, and it's just going to be the same result that we've had every season we've had this channel where we're not doing anything in the playoffs. So I'm a little bit worried about that. Good positives in this game that we'll talk about, but man, this win sucks.
Yeah, like you said, though, it might not matter too much. What's hilarious to me is the Blazers were outright trying to lose this game. They had a moment in the first quarter of this game, a game in which they didn't play Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant. But in the first quarter, we had a lineup of Ryan Arcidiacono, Cam Reddish, Kevin Knox, John Butler Jr., and Drew Eubanks. Like, we're trying to lose this game. And the fourth quarter, I think Arcidiacono played the whole fourth quarter. Kevin Knox played most of the fourth quarter. Like, we're literally trying to give this game away, and we still were too good tonight. So, I mean, it's kind of cool that the young guys stepped up, but at the same time, like, this organization, don't kid yourself. They weren't trying to win this game or having good vibes for getting a win and didn't want to have a losing streak and stuff like that. They were literally trying to lose this game.
Yep. I mean, they just can't do anything properly consistently enough, It's man, I'm ready to shut down Dame. We talked about that recently. I don't want to risk him getting hurt. And, I mean, basically, my sights are on next season. And Sharpe playing well gives me some hope, but we're going to have to talk about his minutes and what we said at the trade deadline and what we said going into the All-Star break and coming out of the All-Star break, how Sharpe should be handled, because today was a bit of a revelation. So that'll be positive if that's what you're looking for. But to tie up this conversation, man, it just sucked because Orlando won last night. We were one win behind them. We had one more win than them, and they're fifth. So that definitely hurt. My sights are just completely on next season right now. I don't want to have another season like this one. And, I don't know. I want every percentage chance of guaranteeing that this season and last season aren't a repeat, that I'm willing to lose the last 17 games of the year. I don't care. Like, I don't want next season to go like this season. I want these wins when they actually mean something in March. That's what I want. So that's where I'm at. That's the end of my dialogue there.
I mean, the only thing I'll say is I think Utah might be showing signs of wanting to lose too. They might not want any part of making the playoffs because they are obviously wanting to get back into that Wemby competition as well. So maybe they're going to pull the plug and lose a bunch too.
That's the problem. If we win a game or two and they're really pulling the plug like that,
Yep.
I mean, we're only 3 games back of the play-in. We win a couple of games, we could be 1.5, 2. Like, I could see this team tricking themselves into, oh, we should go on a run. Like, it's just not good. And the thing is, down the stretch, they're not going to be able to go on a run because they face Sacramento twice. They play at Minnesota, and Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns should be back for that one. They play at Memphis. John Morant's back. Then they play at the Clippers, second to last game, and then last game of the season, they play at home versus Golden State. Like, they're not going to win a high percentage of those games. They haven't won a high percentage of games like that since the start of the season. So it's just, you have this perfect stretch to get the team stuck in the middle this season with Utah, Chicago, OKC, and then New Orleans hasn't been too good, and Zion's out. So this 4-game stretch is just a perfect stretch to get them stuck. Like, should we sit Dame, or we've won 3 in a row? Maybe we should play him. Because the way this team looked today, if this team plays like this against Chicago, they're being Chicago. OKC's played really well lately, but this team competed defensively. It wasn't a great game defensively, but they competed. Offensively, they picked apart traps.
Mm-hmm.
They picked apart traps all game long, and it was young guys.
Nurkic combination looked good.
They literally, what have we been asking for years? And then at times this season they had it figured out with Josh Hart, but then since trading Josh Hart, this team looked kind of clueless against traps since losing Josh Hart. And then today they come out and put 127 points on the board because they're moving the ball like the prime San Antonio Spurs. I mean, there is a perfect play to explain this. It was that play where Dame gets trapped, skips it to Thibault on the wing, touch pass to Nurkic rolling to the hoop, who then does a touch pass to Watford going baseline for a reverse lay-in. And the defense is just rotating to each pass, and the pass is beating the defense. If we, offense hasn't really been the problem, but if we move the ball like that against the trap and played against the trap like that this year, then maybe we'd be in a play-in right now.
Yep.
But we see this type of play, and it's never consistent. I'm just worried that, okay, well, this team is on the upswing now. I don't know. I can't shake that feeling, and it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know where we go from here.
Well, Lou the Ruler thinks we're pathetic, so... Because hoping your team lose to tank for a second straight year is pathetic.
I mean, I think it's pretty pathetic to not be able to see the long-term vision. I mean, if you're just short-sighted that you want wins in a lost season when we're 8 games under 500 with 10 games left, then I don't know what to say to you, man.
Like a month ago, they literally said, the time is now, we're going to start, and they barely won a game since then. Like you're crazy.
Yeah, and then he goes on to say, we don't need another rookie unless it's Wemby. If not, trade the pick. Well, guess what? Since you want to call us pathetic, you're moronic. Guess what? The higher the pick is, the more trade value it has. Guess what? The worse we finish, the better the chance we have at getting Wemby. So if that's what you want, then you should want us to lose. What are you on about?
Or we could actually make the playoffs and then not have a pick to trade this summer.
Yeah, that'd be great. Like, you know what I mean? If that's what you want, why are you thinking it's pathetic that we want to lose? Because that's what we want too.
Okay, the only thing pathetic is this team actually thinking they're going to win games when they've freaking been absolute crap all season, especially in the defensive end. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the league. They've been the worst defensive team in the league for the last couple months. So
most blown 10-point leads.
If you think it's pathetic that we're not rooting for the team with the worst defense to win games, like that's the problem. It's like we're not like saying that the Blazers can't have fun and try to win. We know the players are going to try to win.
Yeah, it's nothing against the players.
And it's nothing against them. Like, it was cool seeing Sharpe go off tonight. Mm-hmm. It was cool seeing Trendon have a good game. It was cool seeing Nurk have back-to-back good games after really struggling coming back from his injury and stuff like that. But I mean, you're just spitting dumb crap right now, Woo. Man, we have no chance at Wemby. Let's be real. Okay.
Can I go off about this?
It's literally a fact how much of a chance we have or don't have. So saying there's no chance is just the stupidest argument against anything that anyone could ever say. It's literally marked in stone how much percentage of a chance we have at certain positions and spots in the draft, and that's literally why Torrey wants to lose games, so we have a greater percentage chance to do that. So you saying we have no chance is just complete nonsense, man. Like if you're gonna argue, at least make it factual, man.
Yeah, I've seen so many people on Twitter say that, like, So Chad Doing is all aboard the tank at all costs, let's get Wemby train, right? Just as I am. We actually agree on that. And I see his mentions. There's so many people. We have zero chance. What? It's not the NFL. The draft lottery is a freaking thing. I just don't understand. So, I would like to have a 10.5% chance at him compared to a 7.5% chance. But the only way we have zero chance is if we make the playoffs. I'm not worried about that happening. I don't want to sit here on draft lottery day saying, oh, we only have a 4.5% chance. I want to say we have a 10.5% chance. I want to have double those odds. I want to have as good of odds as possible. And guess what? It's like so many people want to blow it up and rebuild. The number one teams only have a 14% chance. It's really unlikely for them too. So it's like, what? If we were the worst team in the league, would we have a chance? Because 14% isn't much more than 10.5%. Or does every team in the lottery have zero chance at Wemby? Like, how does that work? It's don't come here and call us pathetic and then be completely illogical. It's BS.
And
I need to vent. So
not once have we ever said we're getting him. We're for sure getting him if we get the fifth. That's stupid. Like, we recognize there's still, even if we got the fifth worst odds, there's still a 89.5% chance that we do not get Victor Wembanyama. So that's not the thing. But like Tori said, that it also affects other draft positioning. Second, third, fourth, the odds for those become much higher. If you don't move up, getting fifth or sixth instead of seventh or eighth or whatever because two teams behind you moved up. Those are important things when trying to build a roster or have as much trade value as possible to build a contender this summer. And we recognize that as long as Dame's playing, he's not going to tank. Like, he wants to win. He does not want to give up on the season yet, and that's totally fine. It's totally fine. We're not saying that can't happen or he can't win games or whatever, or he's dumb for wanting to win. I mean, that he's a player. Of course he wants to win. So like this is where we have differentiated this for now 2 seasons. The players are going to play their butts off, and it's cool watching them play well. But we can also recognize that it's not good for them to win games because they're not going to make the play-in. They're still 3 games behind 4th or for 10th, which is the last spot in the play-in. And even if they get to 10th, they have to win 2 road games against 2 good teams right now. So like, it's crazy right now. And we can both recognize 2 things to be true. That it's cool that the young guys stepped up tonight and Shaedon Sharpe had a great game. It was fun to watch. But it's also going to hurt us in the long term losing the game. Like, it's both. Like, no need to argue any of those facts. It can all be true.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is it's pretty obviously factual. Like, this whole situation is pretty clear cut and dry, and it's baffling to me how drastically different people think about it. We have this percentage chance of Wemby. We can have a higher percentage chance of Wemby. We can have a higher percentage chance of the top 4. And these players are going to play their asses off. And that's the thing is, like, I'm not even frustrated with anyone in the organization in regards to handling this situation other than Chauncey maybe not playing certain guys more minutes. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, like, I'm not going to get mad at Dame dropping 35. Dame's going to go out there and compete, and I wouldn't expect anything less. It's like, if I was in a Blazer uniform right now, I'd go out there and compete. As a competitor, I don't know how not to. Dame doesn't know how not to. You know what I mean? Like, shoot, if you guys were out there as NBA players, you guys would compete too, even if you want this team to lose. Like, you're out there on an NBA floor, you're going to try and put your best foot forward. The only way you get to the NBA is by being at least somewhat of a competitor. If you're not competitive enough, you're not going to be able to separate yourself enough as a basketball player to even reach that level. So that's the way these guys are wired. You don't expect them to play differently. You don't expect them to go out there and throw. Never. But, you don't expect Chauncey to go out there and, like, throw games either, but he kind of tried. He played John Butler a couple meaningful minutes, with some of the substitution patterns. I think Chauncey's in on it too, or at least part of the way. But that's the thing is, I don't know when the organization can go to Dame and say, Okay, well, now it's time for you to sit, because if he doesn't want to sit, I mean, that's a tough situation. I mean, they could tell him to sit, but I mean, if he really doesn't want to, do you want your front office and ownership and your star player at odds against each other going into the offseason? They kind of need to be on the same page. So that's why it's like, I'm not mad at anything or anyone in regards to this situation within the organization. I'm just frustrated at the circumstances of the situation. I'm frustrated at the situation itself. I would have loved to have been talking about the Blazers being a 4 seed right now and trying to gear up for a playoff run. I would have loved to have continued that early season stretch where I was having a ton of fun. Maybe the most fun ever on postgame shows when we were 10-4. It was phenomenal. It was a great time. Absolutely. You know what I mean? If they kept playing like that,
we couldn't even interact with chat because it was going so fast.
Yeah, it was fun. It was great. Like, that's what I want. That's what I want. The problem is, though, this roster's not good enough to keep that going. Okay, so I want the roster to be good enough to keep that going. Mm-hmm. And there's a pretty clear-cut way to increase your odds at that. And that's by having the best draft pick possible. So that's why. That's what I want. Because I want those good moments, man. I want those fun post-game streams. It's not fun sitting here at 32-40, staring at a lost season, but then winning a game. You know, it's fun, Sharpe playing well, but nah. The circumstances of the situation is extremely frustrating as a fan. I don't want this team to be here. I don't want that, man. It's frustrating as hell. I don't want to root against them.
Well, according to the Dawn, y'all are going to look dumb when the 7th pick jumps to first. So he already knows that it's the 7th pick with less odds. That's for sure going to move up. So
I mean, just stop saying stupid stuff. Like, sure, that could happen, but also, guess what? It's more likely the 5th pick does. Guess what? All you can do is increase your odds. If I had 2 lottery tickets, right, for $1 billion, and I said, you can have the one where you have a 9% chance of winning, or you could have the one where you have a 5% chance of winning. Guess what? You're taking the 9% one. Everybody's taking the 9% one. So that's a terrible argument. Just sure, maybe the 5% one wins, but you always try and maximize your odds of something good happening. It's just basic freaking logic. And I'm so tired of people not using basic logic in regards to the situation right now and the circumstances. Like, I don't want to sit here arguing about basic logic all stream. I promise you we'll talk about Shaedon Sharpe. But, oh my goodness, it's this, and then it's, well, look what happened to Greg Oden. We should have drafted Kevin Durant, therefore you can't draft Wemby, even though Wemby's closer to Kevin Durant than he is Greg Oden. Even though Brandon Roy had knee injuries too, and he wasn't a big man. He wasn't a setter. Like, just the whole discourse around tanking and the draft and even some of the Wembanyama stuff where I see a ton of Blazer fans saying, I wouldn't touch him, I wouldn't draft him, is absolutely insane right now for such a clear cut and dry situation. Andrew Bohm says, I don't understand what you want them to do then. You seem pissed just to be pissed about the situation. I'm mad because they won, because that makes it less likely for them to get done what they need to this offseason. I want them to be in as good of a position as possible this offseason. Like, I'm mad at the result of the game, yes. Pretty, I don't know. I don't understand why that's not clear. Anyway.
Again, Anil, it's not the players' fault. The players don't want to tank. They will never tank. They actually want to win. They want to play well. Why would someone want to actually like give up and not play when they still have a chance? Like I don't want to turn that off.
Yeah.
He's saying to blame Dame.
I mean, Dame's wired as a competitive person. That's why he's so good. Why would I blame Dame for what makes him great? Why would I get mad at Dame for what makes him great? I'm not going to get mad at Dame for what has made him a top 75 player of all time, and that's the chip on his shoulder. That's the edge that he has, the competitiveness. He said blame leadership, Eric. I mean, It's a tough spot. It's leadership. I mean, it's their own doing. They're the one that's put this roster out there. You know, Jody's the one that won't, go into the tax, even though we're not being threatened with repeater tax if we went into the tax this year or next year. But I don't know. You don't want Joe Cronin and Jody Allen at odds with Damian Lillard going into the offseason either. So you're kind of just stuck in a tough spot right now because of their own doing. We've gotten mad at those people for months, though.
They sat Anthony and Grant, too. It's not like they tried to play everyone and win this game. They're playing, like I said, John Butler Jr. and Kevin Knox in the first quarter. Like that was not the plan to win this game.
Yep. Andrew Bohm says, sometimes you're just going to win when you have no business winning. I hear you. It makes sense for them to lose as many games as possible at this point, but what do you do? I mean, obviously, and sometimes you're going to lose games. That if we lose a playoff game, should we not be mad that we lost a playoff game or frustrated that we lost a playoff game? Because playoff losses happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You just got to hope overall it doesn't end up mattering.
Yeah, are you not supposed to get frustrated with bad results for your franchise?
Well, 2 out of our last 3 wins. So going back to the Orlando game, which was that was the 3rd game we've won lately. So that game basically cost us a chance at 5th at the time. But then we kind of got a reprieve because they won some games, and we had gone on a 6-game losing streak after beating Detroit the next night. And now, like you mentioned, we were back to 1 win away from them. So we had a legit chance of getting up into the 5th, which is as high as we can get to. We're not getting any higher than that in the standings. So that's all it is. It's just like these wins are hurting the chances of getting to 5th. Now, maybe the Magic and the Wizards win a bunch of games and we lose out, and that's fine. It ends up working out. It's just the best possible case for the Blazers is to get up to 5th right now, and we had a legit chance of doing that going into tonight, and it just kind of messed that up. But I mean, it's still mathematically possible, just like making the playoffs is still mathematically possible.
Yep. So, yeah, I'm mad at the result, guys. I'm mad at the result. I mean, if you're not mad at the result, that's fine. I don't care. It's not pathetic to be mad at this result. It's not.
And Ivan says, what happens if we don't get Wemby after tanking? Well, again, it's not just Wemby. It improves your luck at other things.
To get 2, to get 3, to get 4.
And having a pick 2 through 6 or whatever is higher trade value than a pick 6 through 8. That's just facts. Like, it has more value whether we keep it because that's a better player or if we trade it. So yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, and Chris Brandlin, I mean, people have good points. Like it's if we move up last year, maybe we take someone other than maybe we have Jabari Smith and he sucks, I mean, he's playing better now, but I'm just saying maybe he sucks on the Blazers and we don't have the promise of Sharpe or whatever. So maybe it turns out to be a blessing in disguise. Maybe we draft Taylor Hendricks at 9 and he ends up being the best player in the draft. Who knows? But that's not how you build teams. Like when you're talking about getting the best out of the situations, you want to have the best possible chances to have that. If you get lucky and still make a good pick, then that's good. It can still be helpful, but you need to keep trying to have the maximum chance to get whatever the best asset is.
Yeah, and there's a comment that says, we got Dame at 6. Well, guess what? Sacramento should have taken him at 5. Guess what? If we had 2 instead of 6, we'd have been guaranteed to get him in that draft. Well, we could have taken him at 2.
Well, we might not have taken him at 2.
But that's the thing.
Bradley Beal or something.
You can do is just give yourself the best odds to fix this problem. Giving yourself the best chances.
Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
Don't draft Michael Kidd-Gilchrist then. You know what I mean? Just draft the right player. That's what it comes down to. You got to give yourself the best chances at making good moves in the offseason, and having a higher pick gives yourself the best chance. I mean, it's just clear-cut simple. you'd have your pick of both those guys, right? Sacramento took Thomas Robinson over Damian Lillard. Like, that was ridiculously dumb. Even at the time, I thought that was dumb. And we would have been sitting here with Harrison Barnes probably after that draft. And we would have never even had Dame. Maybe we would have traded for him later on. I don't know. Who knows? But the point is, you got to give yourself the best odds. And this organization has put themselves in a position where they have to rely on chance because they have not controlled their own destiny well enough.
Yeah, so a lot, like last year, there was a handful of players that all could have gone, like 7 through like 14. And you saw the Thunder, come up and get Ousmane Dieng and Jalen Williams. But you saw Duran go at 13. Like, a lot of people didn't think he would be on the board still at 13. Jeremy Sohan, Dyson Daniels were players that some people wanted us to take at 7. Like, there's players that went in that range that, like, it wouldn't have been like a reach to do that. But in this particular draft, in my opinion, between the Thompson twins and Scoot and Wemby and Brandon Miller, there's like, it might not be every team, but there's going to be teams that value the 5th or 6th, top 6 pick versus the 8th pick. And that there might be a big enough difference between those two to accomplish a bigger trade than if you don't. So it's not necessarily Wemby or whatever. It's just that there is certain players in this draft where if you don't get into their range or they're not available with your pick, it makes the pick a little less valuable. So hopefully we can get into that range and get that guy. And if we don't, maybe like chat says, maybe we still draft the right person. But it's just hoping that you get a worse pick so you can draft a better player. Like, that's not necessarily the best logic to go about it heading into it. Right? Yeah.
It's not logical. Like, it's just, I hate how we have to argue logic like this. In my opinion, there's a big drop off between 5 and 6. In my opinion, the top 5 players are obviously Wemby, Scoot, Brandon Miller, and the Thompson twins. I think after the Thompson twins, there is a noticeable drop off from them to the next best player. There's going to be really good role players and probably a couple stars after that, but it's not clear who those stars are going to be. And I think the Thompson twins, their upside is far greater than pretty much the rest of the draft, or at least far more clearly greater than anybody else. Of course, you can always have somebody that comes along like Nikola Jokic, who doesn't seem like he has a bunch of upside, and then he turns into the MVP, right? But the Thompson twins, with their athleticism, passing ability, defensive ability, like, if either one of those guys can learn how to shoot, they're a star. Like, I am fully confident in them being a star because they have everything else. So I think there's a clear-cut drop-off. So even if the Blazers end up at 4, I still think that's a huge get. Because you can get a 6'7" guy with lockdown potential who's athletic and can pass. I mean, it's troubles with the shot, but you can develop jump shooters, You just pour all your resources into trying to develop Amen Thompson into more of a shooter where he can just knock down wide open catch and shoot looks. And then for all the people that beg for Ben Simmons, well, you have your a slightly shorter version of Ben Simmons, but a better shooter, because that's really who like an Amen Thompson reminds me of. Defensive potential, he's more athletic, passing vision, being able to score attacking the rim, that sort of thing. Like, I am completely fine moving up to 4 compared to like 3 or 2, because at this point, I don't know. I like, if you had a debate with me right now, Eric, and you asked me to choose between Brandon Miller and Amen Thompson, I don't know who I'd pick. I know Brandon Miller is the consensus guy in that debate, but I think it's far closer. So that's the thing. Yes, it's about maximizing the odds for a generational prospect in Victor Wembanyama, but you're also maximizing your odds to get the 3rd or 4th pick so you can choose amongst those guys. And those guys have a better chance at turning into a true difference maker than anyone else in the draft. It doesn't mean that anyone else in the draft won't end up being a true difference maker or won't necessarily end up being better than both those guys. They just give you the best chance because they are the best prospects. It's all a game of chance at this point. Now, I wish this organization just made the right moves and put themselves in a good position by its sheer will. That would have been amazing. But they haven't. So, now it's relying on a game of chance. I'm relying on Mike Schmitz.
Yeah. To your question though, I'm 100% on Brandon Miller outside of the legal stuff. If it wasn't for that, I don't think it would even be a question. If you bring character into it, I could maybe see it becoming a thing. But I just think Miller's so good. I wouldn't even hesitate to take him at 3 over the Thompson twins.
I mean, these are like the two type of prospects we always debate. Like, I always feel like I'm higher on like the Eamon Thompson type of guy, and you're higher on the Brandon Miller type guy. No, of course they're unique players. It doesn't surprise me.
For a different team, maybe it's different. Like, I don't know, if you're a younger rebuilding team, I might be swayed the other way. But I'm saying, like, on a good team, I'd take Miller and run.
Yeah, but I mean, which team are we? That's the question.
I think if we have Brandon Miller, we're not a lottery team. I think we're, like I said, I just think Miller's going to be in a couple years better than like Mikal Bridges and those kind of players that we're talking about trading for anyway. So like we could get one without having to give up any assets outside of that.
I respect your opinion. I think it's a little optimistic on him, but that's all right. He's good. I'm not downplaying him at all. At this point, if you ask me if would I rather have him or McHale, I'm taking McHale.
Yeah, I mean, in a vacuum, I would choose that too. But I mean, that's not going to be the choice because we have to match salary and stuff. So
yeah, yep. But yeah, I mean, if it's like, oh, you need one more piece, you take Brandon Miller because he's more ready right now. I think long-term upside guy, I would rather bet on Eamon Thompson because he's a better passer. I think he can put more pressure on the rim. I think he's much more of a threat off the dribble, and I'm not saying Brandon Miller's not a threat, but phenomenal first step for Eamon Thompson. Like, can create separation. It just comes down to, can he shoot? If he can shoot, then I take that, And I feel like you can develop that. So that'll be the debate that we'll have this offseason. We don't have to keep having this. But shout out Arrowhead, $5 dono says, cheer up, Tori. All that being upset last live stream in the Hornets still won LMAO. I really feel your pain, though. Yeah, thank you for getting me to double down on my island, Eric. I was giving you crap because they were down 20, and then they came back from 20. Mm-hmm. So that was Picks Against the Spread. We'll have another Picks Against the Spread segment tomorrow on our second channel, Blazers Uprise Live. Link in description.
And thank you again, Eugene. Appreciate you, my man.
Yep. And then shout out to Adsy Mac, member for 12 months. Superstar member, by the way, which is huge. Says, sorry if this has been discussed. Why the hell is Jabari and Keon not getting minutes, but Archie Pelago, I don't know how to say that word, and Fort Knox get 20-plus minutes each? Billups and his in-game choices makes absolutely no sense at times. Yep, you got Fort Knox and Ryan Archie Pelago. I can't say that word, but yeah, I don't get it. What happened to Keon first-round value Johnson, Eric?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is exactly why we were so down on that trade, right? Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing I can think of is we know that Quick mentioned both Keon and Sharpe being late for something. You would think that...
I mean, put them in the doghouse for 2 months, though? That seems iffy.
Well, this is what I'm going to say. It seems like Sharpe, it might have been like a one-time thing or something because he hasn't really been disciplined that much. But in terms of Keon, I'm starting to wonder if it's maybe habitual or something, or he's doing something wrong to get in the doghouse because that's, I mean, when is he going to play if he's not playing right now? But Yeah, it's in terms of Jabari Walker though. I can guarantee you that guy's not late for practices and not messing up with any team rules or in any doghouse. So I don't know what he's doing wrong either, but
Like, why are we
could
playing
just
Kevin Knox ahead of him? Is Kevin Knox probably isn't going to be on the team next year?
and John Butler instead. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the only thing where I have frustration towards anyone specific is Kevin Knox playing ahead of Jabari Walker. But maybe Chauncey thought Kevin Knox was going to help them lose the game. So
I mean,
then I can't blame
well
him.
tonight.
Yeah, he did. Shout out to Jesse Anissen, says, just supporting since I can't move my Patreon to $2 dono. Thank you, Jesse. I'm confused what you mean by Patreon.
He wants to up his membership, but he can't figure out how to do it.
Oh, that's not Patreon. That's just YouTube memberships.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, man. I don't know what's going on with that. I can maybe Google it and have an answer for you next time we're in stream. Yeah, your channel membership. Yeah. By the way, if you guys want to become a channel member, click the join button below. You get member messages each month, and you get your name in green, and you get custom emojis. I need to add more of those. I can add like 10 more custom emojis. I need to add a tank. So, thank you, Jesse, for the $2 dono, though. I'll try and figure it out. Yeah. Anyway, where do you want to go with this?
Well, let's talk about Sharpe. Let's move on.
Okay. I mean, okay. Okay. So, you remember, Eric, when I brought up the notion when they sat Dame and Jeremy Grant in that Kings game, I brought up the notion of, well, the rest of the season, I mean, at this point, just start Shaedon Sharpe at the 3 and play him 30 to 35 minutes a game and just see what he can give you against starters with a big minute sample size game by game. See if he can play at a starter level as a starter, because some guys just play better when they get that amount of minutes, and it would help accelerate his growth and develop him. Remember when we talked about that?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned at the top of the show, I don't like the way they were handling it. I don't understand. Now Billups decides to play him.
Now he gets to start, and he ends up. Let me pull up this box score here. He ends up playing in
almost 40 minutes.
Box score says 40 minutes.
It was like 39 something. Yeah, so 40.
24 points, 9 rebounds, 4 steals, 3 assists, only 1 turnover. He's 4 for 7 from 3, 9 for 19 from the field. He's a plus 28. He's a plus 28.
Yeah.
He was arguably the best player on the floor tonight. I mean, Dame had 30 points, 12 assists, 7 boards, 8 for 19 shooting. So, Dame was the best player on the floor. But, I mean, he was phenomenal.
Even if he doesn't play good, that's not the point. The point is to get him reps and get him minutes. So, I wouldn't have cared if he went, how many shots did he take? 19 or something? If he would have went 3 for 19, I still would have been fine because he played good defense, and he was moving around and making good decisions, and that helps him getting progress towards next year. And once again, it's just like the tank thing we talked about. It's, to me, the only thing that matters right now is getting these guys up to speed and figuring out what you have and what you're going to have for next year. And we need that jump from Sharpe. That is something that can take this team from where they're at fighting for the play-in to surefire playoff team, is if we get a jump from Sharpe to where he's a legit 15, 16 point per game scorer and can lead the bench unit like that, or whether it's starting or whatever they decide to do. We need that kind of person. If we have that on the team already and can develop that, I just don't know what they were waiting for while we were losing all those games.
I mean, him playing well matters for this reason. And this is what we were talking about during that Kings game, is if he can play like this in a starting role, it could and probably should change the way this organization perceives this upcoming offseason.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay, and you said it, finding out if Sharpe can take that jump. yeah, if he starts taking that jump now, you can have a lot more confidence in him taking that jump going into next year. And then you can build the roster accordingly. But instead, A, they haven't been developing him. B, they haven't been playing him enough minutes to have a feel for what he could be next year. In a situation where you have a perfect opportunity to see what he can do given 30 minutes a game for the first time in his career. That's why it's been so frustrating. And now he gets 40 minutes in this game is phenomenal. Like, that's the thing. I feel like if he starts, he could maybe do this somewhat consistently. Obviously, he's not going to play this well every night. He's not going to shoot above 50% from 3 every night. Of course not. But you got to get a feel for this guy in big minute situations now that he has confidence. He has his legs under him. He has his, the game seems to be slowing down for him. Like, he's starting to understand the NBA game. He's starting to feel comfortable within the NBA game. That's the perfect time to give him heavy minutes because then, he's not going to worry about mistakes. Because earlier in the season, when he's getting less minutes and when he's new, he's going to worry more about mistakes. Now, when there's not really the pressure of winning games because it seems like a lost season, when he's able to not make as many mistakes because he's learned the game and is just a better player now. But then also, if he knows he's going to get 30 minutes a game, then you get a player that's going to play with supreme confidence. And then you can see what he is playing with that supreme level of confidence. It's been the perfect opportunity to figure that out, and they've willingly decided not to. Just to find out what you have in Cam Reddish, who's played 150 games before coming here. Just to find out what you have in Matisse Thybulle, who, it's very obvious what Matisse Thybulle's been. Yeah. He's been in the league for 4 years. So, I mean, it's awesome. I love the way he played tonight. Like, it's a positive how he played tonight, but it just makes me even more frustrated that this is the first time since the All-Star break that he's started and gotten heavy minutes like this.
Mm-hmm. Yep, should have been all but the handful of games they haven't played. Maybe you could justify if they were still going for a playoff spot, him moving back to the bench, but he should have for sure started every one of those games and played at least 30 minutes. I don't understand that. But this guy, so the reason why I want him to get reps is he has, like, the rebounding I don't think is a fluke. He attacks rebounds, and he goes up and gets them, and he can jump higher than everyone else. So if he's doing that, he could easily average, 7-8 rebounds a game as a 2 or a 3. And so I don't think that's, like, unsustainable or anything if he's doing that. And as in terms of his defense, like, he gets lost all the time. He makes mistakes. That's going to happen with almost every young player. But the thing is, he has insane recovery quickness and speed. And if you learn how to anticipate passes and get in those passing lanes like he did tonight and use that vertical and those long arms to deflect passes or to disrupt plays, that all of a sudden could be a game changer for him if he dedicates himself to playing defense like that. And we don't even necessarily need him to be a 20-point per game scorer on offense unless we trade a bunch of people. So I would much rather have him get these reps to develop on defense. And the flashes he showed tonight were very intriguing to me in terms of, I know people are going to say we should trade Ant and start him at the 2, but if he plays like he did tonight, he could very easily be a starting 3 in this league and do it with Dame and Ant as our primary defender on the ball and getting in the passing lanes off ball. And I'd like to see that. And we did a lot of good stuff, I thought, on defense tonight. It's weird that we coached in this game, but so I don't think it's necessarily a thing where you have to choose this offseason. I think it's still a case where both of those guys can play, but I do still think they've kind of pigeonholed it into where we're going to have to choose one or the other based on just the sheer contracts that are on the roster.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of how you feel about Ant versus Sharpe versus this or that, you should want Sharpe playing a lot of minutes because that can provide more clarity on how that situation should play out. Before I get into a couple of the Ant comments I saw in chat. Shout out Jesse for another dono, a $3 dono. Says, was trying to do a $5 dono. So 3 plus 2 equals 5. Good math, Jesse. Thank you for the $3 dono. And shout out to Oscar, member for 14 months. His member message of the month says, okay, Dame is eligible for all NBA now, so please sit. Yeah, it sounds like they did institute that this year. I know we talked about it. Thank you, Oscar, for the 14-month member message. Yeah, he can get his all NBA team. So,
all right. I do. I don't even know what this name is. JJK370able. Anyways, Dame said he doesn't care about developing players right now. Okay. Well, he basically did say something along those lines. Like he doesn't. He's not into like developing. He wants to go for wins. But it's a little bit different thing. But
yeah, like that's kind of taken out of context.
Right. But going back to that Sacramento game, a game in which Dame did not even freaking play in because of a snowstorm. So if Ant's starting then, and Ant has a good game, right? And then so Sharpe keeps playing well, and he's playing well, and it's not all of a sudden just developmental minutes. He's doing games like this tonight. Do you think Dame was sitting there after this game being like, man, why did we play Sharpe 40 minutes? We don't want to develop him. This is stupid. I want to win games. No, he helped him win games. So like, this is the thing. Let Sharpe develop so he can help Dame. That's not the same as him saying that he doesn't want to just keep going with a bunch of young players start next season and all that kind of stuff. But man, I don't understand why we wouldn't want to have the best possible version of him, whether Dame says that or not. And like I said, that was kind of taken out of context. But
Dame's had multiple comments talking about how he loves pouring into youth and mentoring youth and helping players get better and that sort of thing. Like he mentored Ant, he's mentoring Sharpe. He's had numerous quotes like that. He's basically saying he doesn't want to get stuck in a rebuild cycle where they're not trying to be competitive year in, year out. He wants to be on in a franchise that is doing what it can to try and be competitive in the playoffs and win games, you know. Sometimes developing a Shaedon Sharpe will be a part of that goal. Sometimes trading a Shaedon Sharpe might be a part of that goal. Both those scenarios could end up being a part of that goal, depending on what the options are, you know. But basically his comment was about he wants to get to that stage, not about he doesn't care about developing players or doesn't want Shaedon Sharpe to be good or whatever. Like, that's not what his comment was. It was taken out of context.
And also, Dame went into last offseason with the exact same mindset. I don't want to draft someone. And then actually wanted the Blazers to draft. He actually told them to not deal with Toronto because they were asking for way too much and that he was fine drafting Sharpe and that he actually believed in Sharpe. So, like, it doesn't mean his thoughts couldn't change if he really believes that someone could help him sooner rather than later, too.
Yep. Meanwhile, since Sharpe had a great game and Anthony Simons didn't play, that means we absolutely have to disparage Anthony Simons as a player. We just have to, because Sharpe played great and Ant didn't play. So we got people in chat that, we have to criticize Ant now because can't have a good thing without a bad thing. So Sharpe plays good, that means Ant's the problem.
Well, what about all those other games that Ant missed with the ankle injury? How did they do in those games when Matisse Thybulle was starting at the 2 and we had a defensive lineup for a lot of those games and yet we still couldn't stop a freaking paper bag?
Yeah. And in some of those games, Sharpe struggled, but because he had one great game when he played 40 minutes, career high in minutes, right? It's not that. It's that Ant was gone. Because I saw comments saying there's something like Sharpe had a great game because Ant didn't play. Ant's a ball magnet and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, Jeremy Grant is a more ISO-heavy player in situations where he shouldn't be than Anthony Simons is. Anthony Simons passes more than Jeremy Grant does. So it's like, why is it Ant having that certain style of play that's hurting Sharpe and not Jeremy Grant too then? You know, like, what? I don't get it. It just seems like we're not going to criticize Jeremy Grant for playing that style of ball. We want to always criticize the starting shooting guard of this team.
Yeah. And so I see Fun P saying, I love Sharp at the starting two because he makes our backcourt bigger and better on defense. Okay. Bigger is not better. It's not. Like, you have to have good schemes and you have to have good defenders. Just putting bigger players out there. I just mentioned this, that we did have bigger lineups with bigger size, more size and length at every position, and our defense was actually worse. So, like, and that was including Matisse Thybulle, who's like a really good defender. So, like, I mean, you guys, you can't just have this like lame theory that if you have a longer player, that automatically means he's better at defense. It's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, we literally just saw this play out. We had Cam Reddish and Thybulle as the 2 and 3.
I mean, I'm bigger than Anthony Simons, and I would be a terrible defender in the NBA. Outside of, I would make like Drew Eubanks look like Bill Russell out there.
Well, now that Nurkic is back, we need to start Drew Eubanks at the 2. Yeah, like I Eric, I have a severe problem with an argument for defense starting with, oh, he's taller, or oh, he's bigger. Defense is so much more than just positional size. Like, you know, if that was the case, we would have been better with Matisse Thybulle there. So that's the thing. It's like, if he's the better defender because he's the better defender, then you should, you know, it should be something like, okay, well, he's better at doing this defensively, better at doing this defensively, better at doing this defensively. But every argument for like, we need to get rid of Sharpe, or no, we need to get rid of Simon so that we can start Sharpe in his spot in the backcourt with Dame. It always starts off with, well, he's just bigger, he's taller. Okay, well, what specific basketball reasons are there? And I'm not saying there's not none. It's just the point of the argument that we always hear. Like, what will he do better? Khalid Muhammad said, undersized backcourt doesn't work with Dame, it's proven. Bro, the team made the freaking Western Conference Finals with an undersized backcourt. With Al-Farouq Aminu, Mo Harkless, and Enes Kanter. I thought Aminu and Harkless were underrated, but still, it's not like those guys were world beaters. And they made the Western Conference Finals. And then they ran a defensive scheme that almost won them multiple games that they hadn't ran all season long. Imagine if they had ran it all season long and had the details down more. Shoot, they might have been able to make the NBA Finals with that undersized backcourt. So how is it proven that an undersized backcourt for sure can't work?
Yeah, people are bringing up the Cavs too, with Mitchell and Garland are both 6'1".
Exactly. That's exactly my point. People care way too much about that, but then we have a bigger backcourt starting with an all-NBA defender and Matisse Thybulle, and the defense isn't any better.
Well, and so I can't find out who it was, but someone said, didn't you say we needed more length? Yes, in the front court we need, yes. But it doesn't matter. Like, we could sign DeMarcus Cousins. He's not a good defender. It's not the right type of length. We need length that are good defenders. Garland and Mitchell work because they have a good defensive small forward in Okoro. They have good or elite defensive 4-5 in Mobley and Allen. When one of those guys misses games, they struggle defensively. When they're in there, they're unstoppable, and it doesn't even matter how bad Garland and Mitchell are. That's why we need length at the 4 and the 5. We need that kind of player that can play defense and make up for those mistakes, allowing your offensive players like Anthony, Dame, and if you want to include Sharpe in that too in the future, like those players to flourish and do their thing on offense. Mm-hmm. You can't just trade a player because he's bad at defense or whatever. You need both. You need creators. You need shot makers. Anthony Simons, I saw a stat today, is still, I think he's third in the NBA in contested clutch field goal percentage. Like, he makes tough shots. You need that in the playoffs. And so until you get another person other than Dame that can do that, you'll lose a series like the Denver series, even though you played pretty good defense in that series, because you didn't have a CJ McCollum type player that can step up and be that secondary scorer when Dame is getting taken out of the game by the other team. So that is why I want a situation where we actually legit try with Dame to put a nice complementary front court with him. And until this point, outside of maybe 2019, these GMs have failed Dame in getting that kind of complementary piece around him, unlike what the Cavs are doing right there.
Okay, I have a question to the guy saying you can still give Ant 30 to 35 minutes a game, just bring him off the bench. Okay, so if you're doing that, with how many minutes left in the first and third quarters are you subbing Ant into the game? That's my question for you, okay? And then based on your answer, we'll have a conversation about this. But to your point about how, like, you know, Mitchell and Garland have worked or are working right now in Cleveland because they have an Isaac Okoro, and then they have Mobley and Allen, two great defenders at the 4 and 5. That's exactly why I'm mad that we won this game, because I want to maximize our chances to get the 7'5" guy that can switch out onto guards and moves like a guard, that can play the 4. that will be a defensive player of the year at some point. Like, that can make up for a ton of the problems we have with this defense. That's why I want to maximize every shred of percentage in order to get him. It's exactly why. Because that's how you build a team nowadays. Like, you got guards that can make shots and carry a team, and then you got bigs that are well-rounded that can defend at an extremely high level. Obviously, if those guards that can create and do things are good defensively, it makes it even easier, but it's not like it's completely cursed. If you had Mitchell and Garland as the backcourt in Milwaukee with Giannis and Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis as the rest of the starting lineup, that's the favorite in the East with a undersized backcourt. Like, that's the thing, is too often with this team, people get tunnel vision towards something too specific. And it'll be the size of the starting two, or it'll be Nurkic isn't quick enough, and they fail to take into account the total picture of this team that has a lot of problems. Mm-hmm. Just changing, the height of the shooting guard or who the center is isn't going to make this team good. Isn't going to make this team a contender. That's the thing, is like, you might have a guy that's, okay, well, he solves this issue, but guess what? He's not as good as this, so now that's an issue. Mm-hmm. It's the whole point with starting Cam Reddish, over Josh Hart. Okay, well, yeah, Cam Reddish might be able to shoot threes a little bit more consistently or a little bit better, but he doesn't rebound, and neither does Jeremy Grant, so now rebounding's more of an issue. Like, you can plug one hole and open up another one.
Perfect example. Last night, I believe it was, the OKC game, last play of the game against the Clippers, right? What happens? Lou Dort is guarding Kawhi Leonard. They try multiple times to get Josh Giddey to switch onto him, but Lou Dort single-handedly evades several screens, slips through a ghost screen, and stays on Kawhi, stays in front of him the entire time, and completely blows up the play. Kawhi barely even gets the shot off on time, right? One player completely changes that. So if you have Jeremy Grant on him, and he gets screened, and Dame or Ant has to switch onto him, then all of a sudden we're talking about, oh, we can't win because our defenders suck. You know what I mean? No, go get us the guy that can defend and not have to switch and can get through a screen, right? But now we have these situations where we put Jeremy Grant on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he gets a screen and drives right down towards Nurkic, or we have Anthony and Dame guarding the rim, and all of a sudden it's those players' fault and not our scheme or not our ability to fight through a screen. Like, get us one guy who can fight through a freaking screen, and this maybe changes everything on this roster. And it doesn't matter how bad of a defender Giddey was or Shai was in that play. It mattered zero, because one guy completely changed the complexion of an entire play. And if you have those kind of players, then you can also move it to where you can kind of hide players and you can get away, and then bad defenders become good defenders because they're asked to do a lot less. They have to switch less. They have to cover bigger players less. And everything works its way down and trickles down to those guys being fine. But the problem is, we have not had a single good player outside of 21 games of Trevor Ariza back in 2020 since our Western Conference Finals run that can get through a screen like that. And until we address that issue, it's going to be a non-factor. Our point of attack defense sucks, and we have no one that can cover for it because our best help defenders are the guys sucking it up at the point of attack. So we have them in the wrong positions, and we talked about that all season long. And until that changes, I'm just sick of hearing that certain players are the problem when we don't have a player that can solve the problem, no matter if we started 5'7" foot people or 4'6" or 5'6" players. It's not going to matter at all.
Yep. But that's the thing, is too many people in this fan base look at things with such narrative. I mean, all season long, who have been the two biggest problems, according to maybe the majority of this fan base, in regards to the defense? It's been Anthony Simons and Yusuf Nurkic. Okay, well, Anthony Simons misses time. You put in Matisse Thybulle, no difference. Guess what? Yusuf Nurkic misses time. You put in Drew Eubanks. Guess what? Our defense, if anything, I think was worse. How are the two guys who are a problem with our defense, how when they're missing, our defense is worse then? It doesn't make sense. But we tried to tell people about Drew Eubanks all season too. And we were haters, right? But then he gets a stretch where he gets to start for Yusuf Nurkic, and then Matisse Thybulle's the starting two, so the defense should definitely be better if Drew Eubanks is that rim protector and good defender like a lot of people hyped him up to be.
Oh, not as a starter, Tori, not as a starter.
We're Swiss cheese in the paint. Man. Like, Eubanks played how many minutes tonight? 6 minutes tonight. Was a -7, by the way, in 6 minutes. He plays 6 minutes tonight, we win. He's not good defensively. Did you see how hard he bit on that Udoka Azubuike pump fake? We told you he chases blocks, and it gets him out of position. Luckily, it seems like people have now realized that, but all season long... Shut up, ESPN. All season long, it was national narratives, national guys talking about how Drew Eubanks is the best center on this team.
Yep. Yeah, that was a week ago. I saw some national. It wasn't even like earlier in the season, but anyways, and this is, I mean, you're a little more open to this than I am, but I'm still open to it, and that's the idea that if the right trade comes along, we're not saying don't trade Ant or don't trade Nurkic or whatever. We're just also not saying they have to go no matter what. You know what I mean? There's a big difference between saying that and being open to moving them in the right situation. And the right situation to me is if you're dealing Nurkic, for example, you better have a plan to get at least as good of a center. If you're improving another position, you need a path to getting a center. And if you're trading him for another center, you need to not give up a ton of assets for a slight upgrade or a minimal upgrade there. So that is one thing. And then with Anthony, I feel like unless you get a shot creator back that's also a good defender, it doesn't make sense to trade him. And now if you're trading for Embiid or a superstar, we obviously have to include contracts and we have to probably include all our assets. So if that avenue presents itself this summer, we obviously have to probably move both of them in that trade. But in my opinion, they need to just keep finding the right pieces around them unless there is a deal that's obvious for improvement. But I don't think it's like one person is the problem or trading them will solve anything, because we'll still have excuse me.
Oh, die on me.
We'll still have Chauncey as coach next year, most likely. And we'll still have bad defensive schemes. We'll still have Grant on ball if he resigns and all that stuff. So none of it's going to really matter. We're still going to be a terrible defense. So I want to see trades that improve the team, not just we need to get rid of this guy or we can't do anything with this guy or whatever.
Did the fun guy ever say when he would sub in Ant in the first and third quarters, or did he not respond? Because he was saying bring Ant off the bench, still play him 30 to 35 minutes a game.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think he responded with that. At least I don't see it. Is there anybody in chat who thinks we should bring Ant off the bench next year for Shaedon Sharpe or whatever, for whoever? I don't know. Okay, Bailey Smith says I would do that. Okay, how many minutes per game do you want to play Anthony Simons then? To anybody who wants to bring Ant off the bench, how many minutes would you want him to play in that scenario? If you say 0, you're just a hater. Oh, you said trade Ant. Okay, well, I mean, you don't just trade him just to trade him. JJK says 28 minutes per game. Okay, you realize that that's just going to make the team worse, cutting his minutes from 36 to 28, because I don't see any scenario where he's not a top 3 player on this team next year. And if we're just going to make the team actively worse for what?
If we get a better player than him, we probably have to trade him.
Yeah, I mean, but if we get a better player, okay, like I'm open to trading Ant for the right trade, but okay, if we have him back, like why are we going to make the team worse by playing one of our top 3 productive players 28 minutes instead of 35, like, or 36? Like, why are we cutting 7 minutes from that guy?
Yep, see, we gotta pack Nurk up with someone. That's exactly my point, man. Exactly my point.
Yep. What does that accomplish? God dang. Stop talking about trades like we have to trade this guy out.
Literally just ranted about it.
Literally just ranted about it. Some of you guys need to learn how to listen. Shout out to those of you who listen and actually listen to what we have to say. Because sometimes I wonder, like, man, people don't listen. What are we getting back? How are we getting better? Because guess what? Just packing Nurk up doesn't get us out of 13th place. No one should be safe because we're in 13th place. Okay, but guess what? You actually have to accomplish something to get better. You actually have to get better to get better.
So, okay, 13th place is his answer. 13th place, okay. What have we been saying all year? We needed a better backup center, right? We needed a better bench earlier on when the bench was struggling and we were having to play our starters major minutes, right? That was the narrative from us all year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I missing something?
No.
And then we, instead of improving our lineup so that maybe we could bring Josh Hart off the bench and maybe help some of the bench problems, we trade Josh Hart, get worse, and we have injuries and stuff like that. Yet that automatically means that it's Ant's fault or Nurkic's fault or Grant's fault or whatever, or Dame's too selfish or whatever. Like, all those narratives are dumb, man. Like, we need better players with those guys, and the more we can get, the better. It's not like it's a big 3, but it's not a good enough big 3, right? So like they need a perfect team, like the 2004 Pistons, like it doesn't work unless they have 5 good players. When they only had 4 prior to Sheed, they failed every time. Like they need the right mix of players, and they continue to make trades that bring in less assets, not more, and less value players, less role, like players who are good in the role than would be otherwise. So that's why I think that's the case, and that we don't need to just necessarily trade certain people, but.
Yeah.
No one's saying to bring back the same team, man. That's completely different than we have to trade someone.
There's a difference. Like too many people are like, we have to trade this guy. We just have to get rid of him. And we're sitting here like, okay, we have to get better this offseason because we're not good enough. If you don't understand the difference between those two things, I don't know what to tell you. If you have an idea that you think makes us better and you have a reason, on the basketball court that it makes us better, I'm all ears. Go ahead, please. But dude, we got too many people where it's just like, we just gotta get rid of this guy, just get rid of him. It doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't do anything. What? Okay, so we suck even worse then. Great. We already suck, and now we suck extra hard. Cool. Like, it doesn't, like, and you can sit here, and this is okay, I saw a comment earlier, like, and I will respond to this. There was a comment earlier that said, what percent of the streams are arguing with the ignorant commenters in chat? 50%. Well, at this point, when the team is in tank mode, it's going to be a lot more than when the team's playing well. But the offseason is coming and narratives matter. Okay, and I will have a comment that was left on the last postgame stream that I thought summed it up beautifully as to why we actually engage with people on this type of stuff. But there was a comment that says, Nurk's contract is an albatross. You're going to have to sweeten a Nurk trade. Okay, if you attach a first-round pick to Yusuf Nurkic and lose that asset, what does it accomplish for you? What does it open up for you? How do we get better from getting rid of that contract and creating a hole at the starting center? Because we don't have cap space. We don't have any extra money to spend in free agency. So how does it get us any better? Trade-wise, we have less salary that matches salary in a trade. It's now harder to trade for higher salary players. So what does it accomplish? That's like literally, that's what everything is about, is how does this team get better this offseason so that next year we don't have a repeat of this. That's entirely what the conversation is about. If you have an opinion that's not based around how the team gets better and is more so like, how do we get rid of said guy, you're not on the right track. You're not on the right track. So tell me how, if you have an opinion that getting rid of this guy will make this team better because we'll get rid of his contract, okay, you're going to have to explain how getting rid of his contract makes the team better. All right? Let me go to the last post-game show because there was a comment, Eric, that I want to read off. If you have anything to add to that, feel free while I look for this.
Yeah, what's also funny is we have one player over 6'9" on the team, and so that's the problem. Be mad at the GM for not having a good enough front court to compete when you have two really good backcourt players that are scoring a lot and an offense that's we're worried about it maybe a little last year, and with the struggles this year, the offense still wasn't great, but it really took off around the 1st of December, and we're a top 10 offense again. So get some size on this team, but this organization won't even sign a legit backup center, or trade for one or do anything. So how? I just don't understand blaming the players on the roster when the organization is obviously trying to make the roster not fit and not work right. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yep. So there's a comment from Jonathan Evers on our last post-game show, and I thought he summed it up probably better than I could have if I tried to. Obviously, if you watch back streams after the fact, you can try and skip ahead and that sort of thing, or skip through segments where we get caught up on this. If that's what you do and you're watching this back after the fact, then cool. Thanks for watching it back after the fact. That's awesome. Whatever. But he said, the great thing about YouTube is you just have the option to skip ahead. I get this sometimes the extended back and forth engagements with obnoxious chat members can be annoying, but these are actual beliefs that people have, so I don't think it's worth getting upset with Tori and Eric for trying to correct those misunderstandings instead of the media members who are fueling such misinformation in the first place. I applaud their efforts in taking the extra time to be thorough enough to get into the weeds, even if it doesn't serve those of us who already understand these nuances, thanks in large part, at least to me, to this channel in the first place. One of my favorite comments because it explains exactly why we get into it in general.
Yeah.
So, thank you to Jonathan. Just absolutely spitting. Shout out to Chris Brainland, $5 dono. Says, Blazers Uprise, most intelligent, insightful Blazers followed by far and good tribe of serious fans with 3 Blazer emojis. Thank you, Chris Brainland, for those kind words. Thank you for the $5 dono. Appreciate you. But yeah, a big part of this channel, and see, I can't really say this because I feel like it comes across as it's hard to make this come across right, but I do try and clear up a lot of like the misconceptions and a lot of the narratives that are off base and that sort of thing. But then I also challenge people to go beyond just the basic cliche casual stuff when they try and argue about this team. You know what I mean? Like I challenge people to have better arguments. And that's what I do with a lot of people that come in here saying stuff like, we just got to get rid of this player. Okay, why? Okay, what does it accomplish? Okay, how does it get us better? Because if you're going to share your opinion, you might as well try and come up with a good opinion then. If you're going to share it, if you're going to try and argue with people on it, like, okay, have a legitimate argument then. You can disagree with me and still have a legitimate argument. That's as legitimate as my argument. But guess what? You got to put something behind it if you want it to be legitimate. So I challenge people for that, because a lot of the conversation in this fan base is just at such a low level. It's frustrating for me, man. It's frustrating. And there's places where you can go like Facebook and have that type of conversation if you want. Here, we try and hold it to a little higher standard than that, and we try and educate people about the CBA. We try and go into depth on this type of stuff. So that's what our channel's always been about. If you're new to this channel, you might not really get that yet, but if you've been around, you know how that's how it is. So.
Oh, great.
So, but like, I mean, okay. So we got this dude in chat who I was talking about. He says, I respect your opinion, but stop with the insults, Tori. I said, how did I insult you? What did I say that was insulting to you? What? And he said, you should go back and listen to yourself, Tori. If you say I'm insulting you, you should be able to say how I'm insulting you. There goes the insults. Say how I'm insulting you. Stop making stuff up or I'm just going to hide you, because you're literally just making stuff up. When did I insult you? What did I say about you that was insulting? Like, get out of here with that crap, dude. Don't lie.
And you say we have a soft spot for Nurk. Dude, you literally immediately after I just said, like, let's not just say trade someone to trade someone. Let's actually think it out and figure out why you want that person to be traded, all that stuff. You just said, Nurk needs to be gone. I don't care. And that's why we reacted.
Yeah. So lately, chat, I went back and unhid a lot of accounts, and this is probably why chat's been off the rails lately.
Hey, there we go. I didn't hide that one on purpose so you could read it.
Which one?
Tori Ida, last name of a Kansas basketball player.
Was that same guy that said that? Because I can't even. Why can't I even see that?
No, it's
Why can't I see? Why can't I see? Oh, yeah, I see it now. Yeah, so I didn't insult you, and you're telling me to eat a Grady. Bro. Okay, man. Okay, dude. Goodbye. You're just ridiculous. You say I'm insulting you. I ask, okay, how am I insulting you? You can't come up with an answer. Then you tell me to go eat a Grady.
No, that's someone else.
No, that was the same guy I was been talking to this whole time.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. This is the guy that said I was insulting him, and I was like, okay, how did I insult you? He's like, just listen to yourself. Okay, how did I insult you then?
To eat a Grady,
yeah. Eat a Grady. I like that phrase. That because we don't cuss here, you know. So yeah, that's how I'm gonna get around that. Sorry to Grady, for that, but I mean, I got made fun of my name growing up. I know how it is. Tori's a girl's name. Heard that all the time. Anyway, shout out Connor for a $50 dono. Says, I would rather watch a debate with people in chat than just have a lifeless review of the nightly stats. Yeah, I mean, at some point it becomes, okay, well, hopefully these debates can be entertaining, because in the end, I do want to entertain you guys, and obviously talking about this team right now is not super entertaining. In the offseason, I'll have a daily video that I will put my all into just to entertain you guys, while also hopefully providing some insightful content or something, quality content. Like, I want to entertain you guys on top of everything. So, but that's the thing is, I don't think there's one singular thing we can do that'll entertain everyone. There's not. If this team was winning, we could get in here and get excited and it'd be entertaining for everyone. But with the state of this team right now, there's nothing that we can do that would be perfect for everyone. Not even close. So even if you don't disagree with it, Hopefully you know where we're coming from. But thank you, Connor, for the $50 donut, dude. I appreciate you. I appreciate you modding. I appreciate you with the support you give to us and the channel. That's a huge dono, man. You're a legend.
Thanks, Connor.
Yeah, you're an absolute legend. All right, let's get into questions. We'll try and answer everything you toss our way. I've seen questions earlier in the stream that we didn't touch upon, but I do want to try and answer your guys' questions. So if you had questions earlier, feel free to repost them. There is a question that says, Erickson B, why do the media members ask such soft questions to Chauncey? I feel like they were more direct with Stotts, even though he deflected them all.
Is Chauncey's interview worth listening to today?
Yeah. They were soft with Stotts until like late in his tenure, though.
Yeah, there was only a couple people that started getting grading with their questions.
And it was Dwight James was one of them, and he's no longer there. If Dwight James was still asking questions, then I'm sure you would get some tougher questions. But yeah, I don't like the softball stuff at all. We got a comment that says, good basketball analysis is content. Too many theories and what ifs, though, and sounding off on complaining. Bro, how do I analyze a tanking team for an hour and a half, 2 hours? Like, they won today, but every game, an hour and a half to 2 hours, tanking team, analyzing it? I challenge you to do that, man. It's tough. It's not easy, unfortunately. Shout out to Rip City Brady, member for 19 months, says, appreciate y'all on the channel. Hashtag tank for Wemby. Yes, sir. Tank for Wemby. Unfortunately, we didn't tank today. Thank you, Brady, for the 19-month member message. Good to see you. Anyway, what other questions? Was there any questions you had?
At what point would you be okay with just letting Grant walk?
No point, because this team is not in a position to lose assets for nothing.
Yep. Once the trade deadline passed, you can't let him walk. So,
yep.
Unfortunately, it's the exact reason why we didn't want to trade for him, because we didn't want to pay him that much. But once it came time to pay him, you have to trade. You have to pay him, or this. I mean, short of a miracle draft pick that works out, or a miracle trade, I still think we're worse off. Like, even if we traded for Embiid, if we don't re-sign Grant, we're worse off than if we do. So if we don't re-sign him, short of like a Jarvis Walker coming in and turning into like Kevin Garnett in his first year in Portland, this organization's pretty screwed, I think.
Yep. Collins and Vassell for Anthony Simons. I mean, I would definitely consider that. I have a feeling that San Antonio wouldn't, though. I feel like that's the type of trade where both teams might say no.
Yeah.
We got the Cam Reddish Stan account back. Cam Reddish is an all-star player getting wasted by Chauncey. Shut up, Uprise. He clears Grant. At least it's on the nose enough that it's funny. What else do we have? Chat's moving at a million miles an hour.
Do I think Lamar Hurd talks too much on the broadcast? No, I prefer him talking in that situation.
Yeah. I love Lamar Hurd. He's good. He's good as his job.
It's just
with the broadcast.
Wishful thinking, Armani, if that team blows up this summer with Harden leaving, in terms of would Embiid come here? Probably not, but yeah.
How do you guys feel about Dorian Finney-Smith as a possible forward? I think it costs too much to get him.
I mean, he hasn't played that great since going over there, so maybe he has reduced value. That's someone I definitely look at for cheap. But once again, we don't really have a contract to match to get him for cheap, so the cost would probably be too high, even if they were willing to give him away.
Yeah, I mean, you could do Nas, Knox, and Keon in the Knicks first for Finney Smith, and like a minimum contract would probably be the deal there.
Mm.
I don't know. I'd probably do that unless Derek Lively's there at the Knicks pick. Then I'd probably just rather draft Lively.
Yeah.
I want somebody that can push Nurk, and if Nurk's having a bad night, can play like 28 minutes a game and you feel comfortable with. I mean, I'm not sure if Lively's going to be that guy right away, but I feel more confident in him being that guy than any other center on this roster or non-center that plays center. Because we really only have two centers. I can't imagine Dame answering a Dwight question at this point in the season. Yeah, that'd be tough. Um,
Try to be hating.
yeah. God. Does Dame play next game? Probably.
Yeah.
I don't think his last game will be a win. Let me just say that. Watanabe? I mean, Watanabe would be a nice shooter to get. Solid defensive player. Cheap. Is he a free agent this offseason?
I believe he's got a player option, which he'll opt out of, but I'm not 100% sure.
I think he's at least going to get the taxpayer mid-level exception.
I think he's going to be a free agent, but I'm not 100% sure. Let me look. Oh, yeah, he signed a 1 year. Yep.
Chris Brandlin. Shout out to Chris Brandlin, who I think used a website to just search up a contract. Look at that. He said, no, unrestricted free agency. Unrestricted free agent.
All right.
Amazing. He's looking right at it. Thank you, Chris, for being somebody that will actually look up contracts when you talk about that.
Cam Reddish Stan account, please listen or I'm going to ban you. Donald Sterling would never get approved by an owner. Quit trolling. The owners have to vote on the new owner. He will never get approved. He is banned from the league pretty much. Please quit writing the same thing over and over again, or we're just gonna remove you from chat. So please just stop with the nonsense.
I know the account is a troll, but Donald Sterling is not the way to troll. Yeah, you can go a million different ways with trolling without going into Donald Sterling. So, anyway.
Striker asks, will Nurk's contract look better as cap increases and more centers sign higher average contracts? Maybe. I don't think it's bad. It's not great either. It's just kind of stuck in those middles where you still have 3 years left. So unless a team really wants him, it's not going to have much value. I just think the length of the contract was the problem, not the price. I thought, I had heard that they were going to look to give him a slightly more annual average like they did, but as a compromise, have it be, a 2 or 3 year contract instead of 4 years. So I think the problem is that it's 4 years, not that it was for the amount it is. It's just kind of in that neutral area where it will never be a positive contract, but it's not really like terrible in my opinion either.
Yeah, like it probably is a slight overpay, but that's not really relevant. That doesn't really make a difference. It's like if you attached a pick to him to get rid of him, that hurts the team drastically. Like that's far more of a negative. But that's the thing, Eric, is I feel like a lot of people look at it like you're either a solid contract or a bad contract. And there's like not that gray area that's actually there. You can be a slight overpay, And just because somebody's a slight overpay doesn't mean that you have to get rid of him or like getting rid of him is going to do good things. So I will go out there and say I think he's slightly overpaid. Now, slightly is a subjective word too, so it's all kind of subjective, but that's the thing is like if his contract is bad, if getting rid of him could lead to something better, then I would be all ears. But that's the problem is attaching a Knicks pick to get rid of him because he's a slight overpayment on a slightly too long contract doesn't actually accomplish anything and doesn't open up any avenues to actually get better. It just wastes an asset, and you have an extra hole now to fill, and you don't have cap space, you don't have free agent money. So that's the problem with that notion, you know. That's the issue. It's all about getting better this offseason, man. It's literally the only way to look at this offseason, just how do we get better? And if you can maximize the long term too while also getting better and pulling off the right moves, then that's great too. You know, that's why I love Wemby, because he'd help us get better next year, help our defense a lot, and the future would get much, much brighter. I mean, shoot. In the future, Eric, if we had Wemby, how would you rank our young core, like, looking ahead 5 years from now? Our young core being guys 24 and under.
I think it's hard to say it's not among the best in the league.
Yeah.
At least top 3.
Yeah. I mean, and if you think about it in terms of, like, how would you even rank the guys on our team, too? Wemby, obviously, number 1, but, like, long-term, you can make a case for having Sharpe as a better long-term asset than Ant. So it's like, if your young core, if your third best future piece long-term you view as a guy that's already averaging 21 and 4, yeah, you're sitting in a pretty good spot.
Jesse and Kieran, can you guys please stop with the insults? Thank you.
But I want, like long-term, Wemby and Lively together would be fun.
Oh, heck yeah.
I feel like that would be like a better Evan Mobley with Wemby, and then Jared Allen. Like, Derek Lively, I feel like has some similarities with Jared Allen.
And, yeah, so, I mean, outside of Zach Collins, we know that Olshey and Cronin can draft guards. Like, they've proven that. But let's find a big forward or a big center. Like, let's do one of those two things, whether it's Wemby or wherever we end up picking in the draft. Like, let's get some actual forwards with size that are good at basketball to add to that young core instead of just keep adding guards. Even though I do agree with the best player available, but at some point, to win with Dame, you have to get a front court of the future versus just keep drafting guards.
This dude says, "Yep, Wemby and trade Dame. The young core would be amazing." Guess what? You don't have to just get rid of Dame to have an amazing young core if you get Wemby. Like, why would you get a guy like that and then trade Dame? You finally get Dame, like another legitimate piece who could be a superstar in the next 2 to 3 years. And now you'd finally trade Dame? No, man. No.
Mute That Bozo said, will we be tanking again next season for next draft's generational talent? I hope not. I mean, that's the whole point, is to, do stuff. Like, let's just be real. Cronin didn't do a good enough job with the $60 million in cap space and all those like flexibility things he was talking about. He didn't do a good enough job building the team last summer, and then he made the excuse of, oh, well, this was never going to be a 1-year thing. Like, give me time to like make it so like people would feel sorry for him and not criticize him. But yeah, so like we're not going to keep kicking the can down the road. At some point, you either have to go all in with Dame, or you have to then realize that it's never going to happen with Dame, and maybe have to have some tough conversations. But like, I still think they owe it to Dame to not tank again. So I didn't think they should tank this year. But now we're stuck in a situation where they have to. Like, they need to. There's no point in not tanking. So
mute that, Bozo. So I got an eye roll auditory. My work is done. That eye roll wasn't at you. Sorry. That eye roll is at the comment that says, like, seriously, pipe dreaming this Wemby dude is theoretical. Or no, the comment is, like, seriously, pipe dreaming this Wemby dude is theatrical. He doesn't have enough meat on his bones to go 82 games, kind of like Zion having too much weight. I mean, that comment just makes no no sense. He's he's the best prospect since LeBron. Like, Wemby's gonna be good. Wemby's going to be really good. He can shoot, and he's going to be a 7'5" rim protector who jumps off the floor quick and is agile and can cover space quickly. Like, he's basically guaranteed to be an elite defensive player, and he can put on weight. He's already started gaining weight. There's other skinny dudes in the draft too. Like, guys come into the league skinny because they're young. They're young. And that's the thing is, like, okay, so he's skinny. How does that mean he's necessarily going to get hurt? Because if anything, having more weight, like Zion, leads to guys getting hurt more. So how is having less weight going to lead to him getting hurt more? Your, like, bone density and strength isn't defined by the amount of muscle you have on it, so it's not that. Like, I don't understand that theory. The thing is, a lot of Blazer fans feel like Wemby's going to be super injury prone. And part of it is like, oh, we always draft bigs that are injury prone. And then part of it is he's skinny. And neither of those really make a ton of sense to shy away from him for me.
Yeah.
Less weight equals tears and pulls, bro. Okay, doctor. I don't think that's true, but okay. More weight equals more force. I don't know. You'd have to point to a source where you saw that, because more weight equals the same thing. Okay, so if less weight and more weight equals the same thing, then how does weight matter? Or I don't get it. Whatever.
You could also argue that at 7'5", the more weight you have, the harder it would be on your feet and your knees.
Yeah.
As I'm finding out at 6'6", I can't imagine being a foot taller almost, and like, I mean, obviously you need to put on some weight, but I'm saying there's a point where you have to worry about the joints a little bit too.
Yeah. And then Taylor, yeah, that was a freak thing. Yeah, I kind of sucked that happened, but that's the thing is less weight doesn't lead to foot injuries, you know. More weight does. We're sitting here hoping for Embiid, and he missed his first 2 years, so that's the thing is big guys are going to be injury prone. Like, good luck finding a big that doesn't miss time each year. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have big men. You still need big men. Anyway, yeah, I'm not worried about his weight. I'm just not. It's all just speculation. It's like nothing is. Everybody's body's different. Even guys that look the same have different bodies. Brandon Roy was super injury prone. He looked the same as this other guy, and it was just his meniscus and lack of cartilage. You know, like every guy's different. I don't like projecting guys to be injury prone without an extensive history of injuries, because you're just speculating, you're just guessing. So I'm just gonna take the guy who, if guys have been healthy, I'm just gonna take the best prospect on tape, and that's Wemby for sure, no doubt about it.
Well, much like Chet, it's not like Wemby has like a huge history of a bunch of injuries that you're like, oh no, is he like, oh, you know, like broke his wrist or his hand or something and missed a bunch of the season. And then, you know, there was rumors about him having 2 different sized legs and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, like, I mean, do your homework medically, you know, go try to find as many red flags as you can. But if they don't find anything, that's not a reason to not draft someone.
Yep. Anyway. Yeah. I mean, no GM in the league wouldn't take Wemby at number 1 in a heartbeat, so I'm just gonna, you know, don't overthink things. Like, sometimes it's easy to overthink things. Don't overthink things. Every GM would take him number one in RB. It's guaranteed. Like there's no doubt about it. We already know as a fact, basically as a fact, who's going to go number one. It would take something miraculously bad for that to change. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I don't even
like finding out his legs are shot or something.
Yeah, like
finding out what you knew about Odin before the draft or something.
Yeah, like at minimum. So, but do your due diligence then. If it comes out that that's the case, okay, well then you draft somebody else. But I'm not going to sit here and randomly speculate without any information. Just don't think that's the right thing to do.
Max wants to know what pick realistically you think the Blazers will land. Man, it's all. It's just a guess.
It's just a guess because, well, let's just do a tank. Let's segue that into Tankathon, if you want to. If you're feeling tanky, Eric, are you feeling tanky?
Less tanky than I was before this game, but yes.
Yeah, me too. Wait, let's show this source. Yeah, that's better. All right, so 7th.
I swear, no matter what we talk about, no matter what the subject is, David Weed will always just make something up about it just to sound smart.
What did he say now?
B-Roy had 2 different sized knee joints.
Where'd you hear that, David?
Like, maybe that's right or maybe it's not, but I swear you just, make up some random fact about every single thing we talk about.
Where did you hear that, David? What is your... yeah. I mean, if you have a source for that, then okay, we'll give you props, but I don't know where you... What? I've never heard that. Roy had degenerative cartilage in his knees, diagnosed in high school. Yeah,
his meniscus was going away, and he had several surgeries for it.
One of the knee joints was 1 millimeter thick, and the other was 0. What?
It wasn't the knee joint; it was his meniscus.
Yeah. Yeah, there was the meniscus and the cartilage.
But see, here's the thing. This is the beauty of David Weed, right? There's no way, most people could fact check anything he says. So it's either completely made up stupid or he knows everything about anything ever said. So what do you think is more likely?
Yeah. Yeah. We're in 7th. In Tankathon is all that I know, and that sucks. We are tied in the win column with Washington, but our chances at Wemby went down to 7.5%. Chances of the top 4 go to 32%. So let's simulate this thing. We're also only a half game ahead of 8th, so we could get down to 8th with another win. Eric, yay! This is exactly what we want to have happen. We want to be stuck with such bad odds that we can't move up, or it's, very low chance to move up, and we're not good enough to make any noise in the playoffs, so we're just stuck probably getting the 9th or 10th pick. Yay, purgatory. Even if we don't move up, I'd rather have the 6th or 7th pick. It's much higher. Much higher. Big difference. And better odds for moving up. We need to move up. Let's simulate this thing. All right. At 14, Lakers. 13, Knicks via Dallas. Dallas is now the 9th seed. The Kyrie trade hasn't really worked out.
Just a quick side note. Yeah, 10% difference between 5th and 7th in terms of top 4 odds.
Yep.
That's huge.
So, that is. At 12, New Orleans. At 11, Utah. At 10, Toronto. At 9, we got Chicago trading this pick to Orlando. At 8, we got Indiana. So nothing changed so far. At 7, we got Washington.
Yeah.
Yay! This win is good.
This is what happened in the lottery last year.
Yeah, and history always repeats itself every year. It goes exactly the same as it did the year before, right?
And this proves people's point that we need to be 7th. So
I hate that. People think we need to be 7th because the 7th pick moved up last year. It's like, you guys realize
if
the
it's
lottery
the same as last year, it's Sacramento will be 4th.
That's the thing, though, is people seriously think the lottery goes the same way every single year. I don't understand. At 6, you got Charlotte. At 5, you end up with Detroit. So we got Houston, Portland, San Antonio and who's the other team?
You're not scrolled up far enough on the screen.
I'm not going all the way up
Oh,
to.
okay, yeah, OKC. No, wait, OKC's in the playoffs.
I'm so used to OKC being up there, but they're literally here.
Who's between us? Orlando?
Oh yeah, Orlando. Duh, we've been trying to catch Orlando.
The other Orlando pick, yeah.
All right.
So Orlando has 9 and a top 4 pick.
Yep. Jealous of them. At 4, it's San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
At 3, it's Orlando. At 2, drum roll. It's either us or the freaking Rockets. Okay. At 2 is Portland. We always get second. What? We can't get first.
Oh. Now we have to listen to Jesse talk about how we need to keep Scoot, and we're dumb if we talk about trading down.
But no, I'd be willing to. Oh man, I think I'd be willing to do. I would like to trade down from 2 to 4.
What about 2 for 3 and 9?
Why would Orlando?
Would the Magic do that?
I don't know. I don't think so. Like, I think Brandon Miller would actually be really good next to Paulo and Franz. Like, you could play those guys 2 through 4 or 3 through 5.
Yeah, maybe.
And just have a bunch of length and perimeter skill and switchability, and yeah. I mean, I just take whichever Scoot or Brandon Miller isn't there and keep 9 if I was them.
Yeah.
Like, that's the team where, like, Brandon Miller makes more sense than in Amen Thompson. But I would be looking at trading down to 4 and just taking whichever of Brandon Miller or Amen. Or how do you say his name? Amen?
Yeah, I think it's Amen.
Amen Thompson? Yeah. So somebody say I was saying his name wrong earlier. I would be willing to, depending on what else we got back, trade down to 4 to take one of those 2 guys. I don't know if I don't think Zach Collins is enough to bridge that gap. But I don't know. I don't know.
And do what with them, DJ Vega?
Trade back with Utah and get some of those Minnesota picks.
To attach them for all those contracts we don't have.
Tori, his name is Asar, not Amen. I hope you're trolling, the Dawn. Please tell me you're trolling. Please tell the truth.
What?
He said his name is Asar, not Amen. And I'm just hoping he's trolling. And if he's not, I'm gonna have a field day. Only 55 days until the draft lottery. That's crazy. Gray Hughes says, if the Blazers trade Sharpe to get someone for Dame, I am done. So if they traded Sharpe for Giannis, would you be done, Gray? If they traded Sharpe for Embiid, would you be done?
Here's the problem, DJ Vega. They do not have the contracts, which is why I asked you that question. Is what you say we talk about the same stuff every stream, but obviously you're not listening. We don't have the right contracts to trade straight up for Mikal.
This dude said Asar Thompson is the name of the player. Amen is what you say after a prayer. Please tell me you're trolling because you freaking bozo. There's 2 of them. There's 2. There's 2 of them. They're twins. There's multiple Thompson brothers. There's an Amen and there's an Asar, okay? There is 2 of them. The Dawn. Anyway. Who's that mock draft have us? Cam Whitmore? I am really not that high on like the 6 through 12 range. I don't know. I don't know who I'm going to want, Eric. It's like 6, like all these. I don't know. Probably Jarris Walker. But we need to be 6th then. If we're 7th and Jarris Walker goes 6th, I'm just so completely lost. Like, I know a lot of people like Cam Whitmore. I'm not completely sold on him, but I'm not completely sold on anyone.
I don't think he's a power forward, even though he's listed on here as a power forward.
He's not a power forward.
So he's a small forward, and then we don't solve that problem that I was talking about earlier about having the size and stuff. So
yeah. I don't know. I just feel like Whitmore has a lower floor. Anyway. Anthony Black is too much of a guard, in my opinion. If Anthony Black could shoot threes, he'd be fine. The knock on him is he's not the quickest guy off the dribble. Like, he can jump, but he's not the quickest guy. He doesn't create a ton of separation off the dribble. So if he struggles to shoot from 3, guys are just going to play off him and be able to cut off his drives. If he's able to shoot the 3, then obviously that's a weapon in itself, but it'll also make it a little bit easier for him to attack guys, get past his initial defender, and then that's when his playmaking would come alive and being able to finish at the rim would come alive. So that's the key. His form isn't even bad, though, I don't think, Eric. What do you think of Anthony Black's shooting form?
I don't like it.
You don't like it? I think it's fine. What do you think is wrong with it?
I don't know. I think it's just too like he's too upright when he shoots or something. I don't know. I just don't have any confidence when it goes in, like a lot of players, or when it goes up.
Yeah. Who did we have this argument about last year? Oh, it was Dyson Daniels.
Yeah, Dyson Daniels.
How's he shooting this year? Let me check.
I don't know what it is now. There was a point earlier in the season where it was like 40%.
30%.
Yeah, it's gone way down there.
But you gotta start somewhere. Like, I watched a clip recently because Austin Reeves went off, and I went back and watched the video before his draft where I talked about underrated draft prospects, and Austin Reeves, like the year before or his last year at college, he's like a 30% three-point shooter. And I was like, I think he can become a good three-point shooter, and if he does, he'll be a good NBA role player. Last year, he's 32% from 3 in his rookie year. This year, he's at 38%. So, it's always it's always a guess, but...
I mean, there is the jump of playing with... Like, on that team with LeBron and AD. I mean, I know those guys haven't been healthy a lot, but... Like, a guy coming in with Dame, if you're sitting there shooting corner threes, it's a little different than going to Detroit where you're like Killian Hayes and having to handle the ball and create offense and shoot threes,
Yeah. I agree. The other guy that was never really a good shooter in college or his first couple years in the league, who I was like really bullish on him becoming a shooter for some reason, was DeAnthony Melton. That was like the other guy that I was right on. I'm sure I've been wrong on guys, but... Forget your failures, remember your successes, that is. Or learn from your failures so that you have more successes, something like that. It's supposed to be inspirational. Whose shot do you have more trust in? Who do you think has better form? Anthony Black or Jordan Walsh? 2 teammates.
I don't have faith in either of them. Shot. But I did see something today about teams are... There's a lot of... it was... what's that guy's name? Raphael Barlow or something?
Yeah.
He said he talked to some scouts, front office scouts, that still have Jordan Walsh as like a first round grade. But yeah, I like both of them defensively, not as much offensively. So I don't like either one. I don't want to choose.
I mean, if Jordan Walsh was there at 43, I would draft him in a
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah. Because I saw mock drafts having him around there, and it's like, dude, defender, like, playmaking potential, guy who plays hard, like, yeah, if you can get that, he's still young, but he could maybe play a little bit of a role next year. Like, if you could get that in the second round, absolutely. But, yeah, I don't think he's going to last that far. He's just one of those guys, like, if he can figure out how to shoot, he's going to be a good NBA role player. And that's the thing is, like, when you get close to the second round or into the second round, you're talking about prospects that are flawed in some way. And it's like, okay, well, which prospects do you think can fix their flaws, and what specific flaws are those? Do you think a prospect can fix their flaw in terms of like being a terrible defensive player? Or do you think they can fix their jump shot? Or do you think their jump shot is close to being fixable? You know what I mean? Like, that's what it becomes in the second round, is what's holding these players back from being a first-round prospect or a higher regarded draft prospect, and is what is holding them back fixable? Or something that you think you can make progress on.
Yeah. I hope they both figure out their shot for their next game on, is it Thursday or Friday?
I hope they don't. I need UConn to win.
No,
but then again, I don't know. I don't know which game would be. Yeah, that's tomorrow. And then Gonzaga plays.
DJ Vega, it only matters for by now the luxury tax has been determined unless we sign someone before the end of the season. But once the end of the season's up, the TPE would count. Like it would obviously count towards this season, but it doesn't matter for this season, so it would count towards next year. But in every trade they made at the deadline, they were unwilling to take back any salary in a trade. So I don't know why they would do that kind of smart strategy. I mean, that's something that I've suggested in the past, to do stuff like that. But yeah.
Yep.
And you also couldn't include him with anyone else for 60 days. So it would be, if you trade him right before the draft in June, it would be middle of August before you could combine him with another salary.
There's actually a ton of second round prospects playing tomorrow. This is actually kind of crazy. Yeah. So the 4 games tomorrow, let me pull them up here. You got Gonzaga, UCLA, Michigan State, Kansas State. Or I'll just start from the top. It says Gonzaga and UCLA first because I have Gonzaga noties on. But Gonzaga, you got Julian Strother. UCLA, you got Jaime Jaquez. You got Adem Bona. Jalen Clark is also projected late second in the mock that I'm looking at, but he's injured, so he's not playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you got 3 second round guys there in Strother, Jaquez, Bona. And then you got Michigan State against Kansas State. On Kansas State, you have Keontae Johnson, who could make sense for the Blazers. Then you got Arkansas and UConn. Arkansas, Jordan Walsh might be climbing into the first round. You do have Anthony Black, who's a lottery prospect. But then on UConn, in this mock draft, Andre Jackson, who's a 6'6" shooting guard. He's mocked at 49. He's a good defensive player and can pass. Not a three-point shooter, 27%. But averages over 4 assists per game. Just kind of like a do-it-all glue guy who doesn't score type of guy. Could be interesting. And then you got Tennessee, who has Julian Phillips, who on this mock draft is 38th. He's a 6'7" small forward. So scouting opportunities tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, you also got Ricky Council on Arkansas, who in Tankathon's mock draft is going to Portland at 43, which the draft order changes every day. They don't do they're not taking into account that it's Portland. Ricky Council wouldn't make much sense for the Blazers, but our second round pick is up to 43, Eric.
And they also have Nick Smith Jr., first lottery pick.
Yep. Doesn't make sense for the Blazers, but he's a guy that... Is he not playing? So was it just because of his injury that he's been banged up? That's why he wasn't playing, or was it more than that?
Nick Smith?
Yeah, because he barely played the second half of their Kansas win.
He was hurt. I was
just surprised they put him in at the very end if he was hurt. Because I know they put him in right at the end of the game, but he's been banged up. So, what was I going to look at here?
Aeromancer wants to know if we talked about Nick Richards' contract extension.
No, we haven't.
Yeah. Is that 3 years, $15 million extension today?
Yeah. Good for him. I feel like that's a steal. I feel like that contract's going to be a steal.
Yeah, it could be.
That's a solid contract. That Hawks second round pick that they owe us, that's 43rd right now according to Tankathon, could get up to 40. They're only a game behind Toronto, who would have like the 40th second round pick. So that second round pick could actually end up being a little on the early side of the second round, which would be nice. Probably not a huge difference, but still. Are you reading chat? What are you doing?
Yeah, unfortunately.
I could tell just by the utter silence, because, yeah, I see what you see, and it's wild. Anyway. Anything else you want to talk about on this post-game show? Because I feel like we're running out of steam here.
Eric also said, who's your favorite Creighton prospect? I think Kaluma is really the only guy that stands out to me. I know they have a couple other prospects that are fringe second round guys, but yeah, he's the only one that I could even see being serviceable in the NBA. Yeah, Armando Bacot went back. He's going to go for his, sixth season or something. He had another year of eligibility. You think Drew Timmy's going to do that?
I don't know. Like, supposedly Drew Timmy's not coming back, is what I've heard, but you never know. Yeah, Bacot's coming back for his 5th year. Timmy would come back for his 5th year next year.
He's going to be the first player in North Carolina history to have 3 senior day.
Dude, people are like, Drew Timmy's been in college forever, and I know there's always those players like that. There's like, it's felt like they've been in college for 8 years. As a Gonzaga fan, like, it's only felt like 4 years because I paid so much attention to him. Mm-hmm. So it's always funny to hear people saying that, especially when he can still come back next year because of a COVID year. You got basically 5 years of eligibility if you were in college for COVID when COVID hit. So,
Bacot also probably has some sort of NIL deal that'll pay way more than the minimum, and it probably makes sense. And he probably feels like he has some unfinished business after they didn't make the tourney this year too.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the case with Timmy, I think, too. So it's keeping guys like that in college longer because it's no longer, I got to get paid to play. I got to go to the NBA. Now it's like, okay, well, I'm making the same amount anyway, so why not?
I think I saw that Timmy's making the most out of any basketball player this year.
Are they?
In terms of NIL.
Yeah, he's extremely marketable. So,
thoughts on David Weed saying that he would instantly be our toughest player? As a Gonzaga honk, do you agree with that?
He would be as a Gonzaga what?
As a Gonzaga honk, like you're biased towards your Gonzaga players. Do you think Drew Timme would be the Blazers' toughest player?
Oh, I thought you meant like David Weed said that David Weed would be our toughest player.
No, he's saying Drew Timme would be our toughest player.
No. What? According to what?
Because he has a mustache? What are you even talking about?
Timmy is tough with a Tuffe. No, Drew Timme would not be our toughest player. Like, he's not tough, but, I mean, Dame's tough as hell. Like, Dame played through a freaking torn abdomen, basically, for 6 years. Like, that's as tough as it gets. I don't want Drew Timme on this team, by the way, okay? As a Gonzaga fan, I will say it. I don't want Drew Timme on the Blazers. I don't think he'll be a good NBA player.
If he was tough, too, he'd probably be a better NBA prospect. Let's just say that.
Yeah. And then we'd get Timmy time, trying to steal Dame time.
Rahi asked if next season is the double draft. No, Rahi, they have not change the rules on that. I don't know if they're going to change it in the next CBA agreement or not, but as of right Well, for years it was mentioned that they were going to get rid of the one and done, so you're going to have
Oh
eventually
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
draft
yeah,
where
yeah. Okay, I get what you're
both
saying.
both
Yeah.
the one and dones from the old rule were now in play, and then the players coming out of high school could immediately go to pro. So it was meant to be like the best draft ever. But until that rule officially changes, we don't know when it's going to be.
I'm reading something about this dude that has Taylor Hendricks in his top 5 on his big board.
If we ended up with pick number 2, what's the chance of trading it to OKC for Chet? 0, because they have SGA already. They wouldn't really be looking for a guard, so they need size, and I think they're really high on Chet still. So I don't think they would trade Chet for anyone other than Wemby, of course.
Man, that would be fun.
Getting Chet.
Getting Chet. Yeah. I mean,
Alex,
he's basically, in my opinion, a poor man's Wemby. Like,
yeah,
he's not as good as Wemby, but has a lot of the same traits. It's hard to find a big that can shoot, protect the rim, and maybe slide his feet well enough to guard like 3s and 4s and have some agility. You know what I mean? And might be like a plus passer. Like bigs with that collection of traits are so hard to find, and Chet has those collections of traits. So that's the thing is he had a lot of haters, people saying he's not good, he's this, he's that. Man, it's hard to find bigs with all those traits, and a lot of the ones that are like really coveted, like Jaren Jackson Jr. Every other one's probably a star. Anthony Davis, and I mean, shoot, Jaren Jackson Jr. was a star this year. He was an all-star this year, so that's what Chet is, in my opinion, long term. I would love to start him at the 4, and I think he's bulked up a little bit. What were you gonna say about Alex or whatever?
Oh, Alex Wolf kept asking about the Cavs. Yeah, they're gonna make the playoffs, and they're gonna be a tough out for someone. I don't know if it might be matchup dependent, but if they're healthy, at least their starting lineup, they could upset a team. That could be a team that goes on a run, but they're also pretty inexperienced. So outside of Donovan Mitchell, so I don't know.
Yep.
But I'm excited to see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, right now the playoff matchups in the East would be Bucks, Hawks, Celtics, Heat, a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals from last year. That went 7 games. You'd have Sixers, Nets, Ben Simmons against the Sixers in the playoffs.
Ben Simmons isn't playing, is he?
I thought he was still playing a little bit and just not much because
I thought they decided to sit him or something, or he was away from the team or something. I don't know.
See, that's the thing. If they, he hasn't been playing. See, it doesn't even register because he's so just bad now.
Yeah.
He's so I can't. It feels like yesterday when we were having Ben Simmons debates and whether we should trade like CJ and 3 firsts for him. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad we didn't do that. Like, I'd rather have Josh Hart than Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
I've never seen a career quite like his that just completely went off the rails for seemingly no specific reason. It's crazy. Yes, Dame played 4 years in college, I believe, right?
I think I had a red shirt year. I think I
Yeah,
actually played 3, but yeah. I think technically he was a junior because of that.
So the other matchup would be Cavs Knicks. That would be such a fun series, man. Cavs Knicks. I would love that. And then
I think he broke his foot, not his leg. Same with CJ. They both had the same injury, I think.
And then they started talking to each other before they drafted CJ because they dealt with a similar injury. So they were familiar with each other before they drafted CJ. in the West, 1-8 would be Denver versus OKC. Then you'd have Memphis versus Minnesota, which is a rematch of last year's 2-7. You'd have Kings Warriors, which would be a battle of the dynasty versus the battle of the team that hasn't made the playoffs in 20 years. And the Kings would have the higher seed there, so that'd be interesting. And then you'd have Suns Clippers. Paul George might be able to be back for that series. That'd be a rematch of the Western Conference Finals from 2021. So some interesting series there. Is there any like specific matchups you want to see in either conference?
I want to see Warriors Grizzlies.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the main one for me. I do want I do like the Heat against some of those teams just because like some of those teams are scared of the Heat.
Yeah.
So I do. I'll be interested to see who they get matched up against. But yeah.
Thunder Kings would be interesting because it'd be the series no one saw coming.
And one of them would be guaranteed to be second round.
In the second round team. Yeah, imagine if you had like Warriors Grizzlies and then the winner of that series plays Kings Thunder. That'd be funny. Warriors versus Suns would be interesting because it would be KD against the Warriors in the playoffs.
I'll be right back.
All right, go do your thing. Yeah. There's really nobody I care for the Clippers to face. And then the Mavericks have fallen off. Mavericks Suns, of course, would be good, but I don't think the Mavericks will be high enough for that. Anyway. How's my day going? My day is going good. I got a lot of work done today. I got some stuff planned. Helping out other creators with graphics. Some baseball guys with their season starting soon, so been working on that. I have daily uploads planned. Once the off season starts, I have a video planned for every day from April 10th to August 1st. So once the season's over, expect video content. As far as that goes, we'll have player reviews. I've already started building the graphics for that. I'll have like a Chauncey Billups based video, a Joe Cronin based video, like a GM and a coach review. I'll have a video reacting to our preseason predictions. I'll have a Blazers Pulse. I'll do poll questions, like all sorts of content in April. Then in May, I'll start talking more about the draft. I'll have like a specific video for each of our picks and prospects to look at. I'll have a video talking about what the number one pick would mean to the Blazers a couple of days before the lottery stream. We'll have mailbags. Me and Eric plan on alternating those. And then after the lottery, I'll have a reaction, that sort of thing. So I have a bunch of videos planned out. It's a lot of content. Yeah, I got people that are able to help me edit now, so it should be a little easier than last offseason, and I'm going to try and get ahead on them. So, if they shut down Dame April 1st, I can record that player preview April 1st. Is there a Mariners Uprise coming? I would like to. That's just would throw another thing on my plate, and I wouldn't be the one on air, so I would have to find the right collection of people for that. Maybe at some point this season we'll get that off the ground. But I do plan on doing content on our NBA channel. I plan on doing a live stream for multiple playoff games, but I'm not going to be the only one running them. We'll have Chase, play-by-play Chase, who's in our stream chat a lot. He'll run some streams. I'll be working with him. I think Gabe is willing to do a few. Eric, we'll figure that out. But yeah, I want to do watch party live streams for playoff games on the NBA channel for other teams' playoff games, and I'll have a whole graphics package behind that, and I'll have some draft profiles on the NBA channel. So doing a lot this offseason, trying to do some good things this offseason. So help me out by subscribing to NBA Uprise. I think we're 40 subs away from 1,000, and we have some really good content coming. I'll have a Blazers off-season like blueprint video on that channel and draft profiles and stuff. So we need 1,000 subs to get that channel monetized. We're 40 away. So anyway, welcome back, Eric.
Thanks.
I was talking about off-season content, which is going to be more fun than some of these streams lately. Although the streams have been fun. I don't mind. I don't mind the way the streams have been. You know, it's just very feisty. It's going to be a lot more chill in the off-season. Hopefully.
Yeah. Had my dog needed to go out, and I'm here alone again tonight. Well, not alone, but kids are sleeping.
That sucks. Anyway, we'll have a stream tomorrow. Blazers Uprise live, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. And then a post-game on Friday.
Trevin, I heard him through the headphones because they were loud. But the headphones are so that you don't hear him talking through my mic a second time.
All right, is there anything else?
Factually correct, David Weed.
Yes. He says something correct. I'm proud of him.
Yes. You're improving. Good job, man. So proud.
Taylor Packer, what's up, Taylor? Says, I've been out this stream. In and out, I assume you mean? I've been in and out the stream, so how about y'all just restart and take it from the top?
I really don't want to relive this. You can go back.
I love those comments. Talk about Keon Johnson for 10 minutes when he plays, and then 5 minutes later, can you guys talk about Keon?
I have a boxer, Alex.
Max Anderson asks, are you looking forward to any play-in matchups, Tori? Well, I plan on doing like play-in preview videos on the NBA channel for each play-in matchup. So, yeah, I mean, there could be some good play-in matchups for sure. And I'll have videos talking about them. NBA channel is linked in the description.
No, AJ, we just completely ignored Sharpe's game. We didn't want to talk about him. And you too, Aeromancer. Jeez.
We got Gabe in here at the buzzer. Nice.
Yeah, now you're joking. It looks bad. What's up, Chiefin? How you doing, man?
Wow. Gabe comes in with Chiefin. I don't think that's a coincidence. 2 more likes to 100. Yeah, hit that like button. We never ask for it. Make it so we don't have to. Honest question, as an NBA player, knowing our team is struggling, knowing how the lottery works, why come out and win?
Well,
you can answer that.
Yeah, let me answer that. Because, I mean, Dame might have somewhat of a big picture in mind, but he also still believes that this team could maybe win some games. Grant and Ant come back, and maybe they could sneak into the play-in and win. So from Dame's perspective, he's still, until he's mathematically eliminated, he's a competitor and wants to try and win. But everyone else on the roster is, why do they care about lottery picks when that could potentially put them off the roster or take their place? So a lot of players are playing, especially with how many free agents we have on the team. They're playing for their next contract and things like that. So they don't want to purposely lose to help a team that they might not even be playing for next year. That doesn't make any sense. So most players are just going to come out and play as hard as they can and try to play well. And if enough players play well, like tonight, we had 4 players score over 20 points. A couple others in double figures. Even Kevin Knox off the bench had 10. So, these were the kind of games for a player like Kevin Knox that could get him on a roster next year instead of out of the NBA. So he's not worried about what our draft pick's going to be because he's probably not going to be on the team.
Yep. Anyway, I'm ready to call it a wrap. We'll be live again tomorrow. Unless there was anything else you wanted to cover.
No, David just back to making crap up again. It's...
All right. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you for tuning in.
Hope to see everyone tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah. Hope to see you on the second channel. Thank you to everyone who donated. Thank you for Connor dropping that $50. Appreciate it, man. Thank you to everyone who left a like. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We got off-season content coming. And yeah, we're just out of here. Let's just end the stream. This has been Blazers Uprise Postgame Show presented by BetOnline. Promo code BELIEVE, 50% reward bonus. Goodbye. Have a good rest of your nights. See you tomorrow. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.